gigantes gigantas.
What's going on when everything starts spinning out of control all at once? In just a short time, nature suddenly turns and acts without hesitation. Snow and ice rush down into places that used to be warm. The ground collapses and swallows whole villages. Tornadoes rise up under clear skies. Strange lights shoot straight up high, then go out. Clouds gather and change shape right on top of mountains. 10 events hit one after another, fast and hard, not following any usual pattern. They happen in different places, leaving behind damage, fear, and questions with no answers yet. Do you think this is just random chance? If something inside you feels uneasy, please leave a prayer in the comments as a way to show your faith in the Lord. Amen. Now, so you don't have to wait long, let's keep going together into the next part to look for some answers. We'll start right with 1. Terrifying blizzard hits California. Heavy snow everywhere. People running out of food and getting desperate. California is facing a really tough, rare challenge right now, and it makes us stop and really look at what's happening. A place that's used to warm sun, blue ocean, and wide-open freeways is suddenly locked in ice and snow, with everyday life pushed to the breaking point. The urgency isn't just from weather forecasts. It's coming from the pictures and numbers coming in hour by hour. This blizzard came from a strong atmospheric river, mixing with a big blast of cold air dropping down from the Arctic. Weather experts say the clash created way more rain and snow than usual, all packed into a short time. According to Fox News, many mountain areas in California got 6 to 10 feet of snow in just a few days, far more than the normal total for whole years. In about 36 hours, big stores like Costco, Walmart, and Trader Joe's in lots of places ran completely out of basics, from bottled water to canned food. In places like Big Bear Lake, Lake Arrowhead, and Mammoth Lakes, snow is piled deep on roofs, parking lots, and main roads. Key highways, I-5, I-15, and SR 330 got shut down because of chain reaction crashes and avalanches. Matthew 24:7 says, "There will be famines and earthquakes in various places." People often bring up this Bible verse as a warning about times of widespread crisis, when shortages stop being just local and start hitting whole communities hard. Local governments in San Bernardino and nearby counties declared a state of emergency. The National Guard got called in, and Black Hawk helicopters dropped food and supplies to cut off neighborhoods. Still, officials admit the help can't keep up with the need, especially for older folks and families with little kids. The 911 lines were jammed for hours. Luke 21:11 records, "There will be great earthquakes, famines, and pestilences in various places." When you put those words next to pictures of cars stuck in long lines and neighborhoods cut off, the warning feels very real. Not like some far-off figure of speech, but a reminder of how fragile modern life really is. Some scientists say this is the result of climate change mixed with La Niña, making blizzards happen more often and hit harder. But according to Fox News, many forecast models didn't see how fast the snow would pile up or how long the roads and supply lines would stay knocked out. Joel 2:30 says, "I will show wonders in the heavens and on the earth, blood and fire and pillars of smoke." With white snow covering California and camp stoves fired up in the freezing night, that warning rings out as a reminder that this isn't just bad weather. It's a sign the world is heading into deeper trouble. And while California is still struggling to dig out from all this heavy snow, somewhere else on Earth, the ground is starting to give way in ways that are even harder to predict. 2. A massive crack in the Earth's layers in Indonesia. A mountain hollowed out, rocks crumbling like cookies. A mountain hollowed out from the inside, with dirt and rocks breaking apart and collapsing like they've lost all weight. Those pictures aren't from a disaster movie. They're from a real village that's still there today. When the ground lost its strength in just a few hours, that usual feeling of safety vanished completely. It happened in Pondok Balik village, Ketol district, central Aceh province, Indonesia, where a huge sinkhole suddenly opened up and kept spreading. The surface area has gone over 32,000 square meters. That's about 7.9 acres, and there's no sign of it stopping. What gives people chills isn't just the size, but how fast it's happening. The ground is dropping in clear stages, easy to see with your own eyes. Aceh sits on the Pacific Ring of Fire, a place well known for cracked earth, volcanoes, and long stretches of heavy rain. Rainwater has soaked deep into the ground for years, quietly eating away at hidden rock layers and creating empty spaces no one could see. News reports say it's the combo of weak underground structure and non-stop heavy rain that pushed this spot to the breaking point. The sinkhole drops dozens of meters deep, over 100 feet in some places, with water rushing down from above and up from below like waterfalls. The walls keep collapsing, pulling in dirt, rocks, and trees. A nearby mountain was found to be almost hollow inside. The rock that seems so solid just crumbles easily under pressure. In all this, we're not just seeing a geological accident, we're watching the foundation of people's lives fall apart. Matthew 24:7 says, "There will be earthquakes in various places." That Bible verse is often seen as a kind of key, showing that the shaking isn't only on the surface, it starts deep down inside the earth too. Indonesia's geological agency has issued the highest level warning and called for urgent evacuation of hundreds of families. Experts explain this as a sinkhole caused by karst erosion combined with heavy rain, a natural process that can happen in limestone areas. But they also admit that the speed of expansion in just a few days, swallowing up dozens of acres, is extremely rare. Revelation 6:12 records, "I watched as the Lamb opened the sixth seal, the earth shook violently." When you put those words next to pictures of a hollow mountain and ground collapsing over and over, a lot of folks believe this isn't just one isolated event. It's a sign that the world's foundations are being shaken. Romans 8:22 says, "We know that the whole creation has been groaning as in the pains of childbirth right up to the present time." The land splitting open, mountains hollowed out, that's a groan you can't ignore. And when the earth is roaring like this in one place, the sky somewhere else is about to answer with signs that are even harder to believe. 3. A tornado appeared out of nowhere and full of mystery in Canada, a swirling column hunting its prey under a clear sky. The calm grass suddenly started rolling up. Mist spun into a standing pillar, creeping slowly across the open space. Are we really sure we're seeing something normal? Or is something actively moving closer? It happened at a remote campsite in Canada, a place usually known for thick woods and peaceful lakes. There was no rain, no thick storm clouds. The sky stayed a steady, bright afternoon blue. That very contrast left the witnesses unable to make sense of what was happening around them. A group of campers were sitting by the fire, talking, when a thin mist suddenly rolled in from different directions. In just a few dozen seconds, that mist stood up into a spinning column, hundreds of feet tall, whirling fiercely but without pulling strong winds around it. It snaked its way between the tents and trees, almost like it was searching, then let out a low rumbling sound, like a distant growl. The column lasted about 3 to 4 minutes, long enough to scare people, but too short to fully understand. When it vanished, the ground went quiet again, leaving only panic and unanswered questions. Matthew 24:7 mentions earthquakes in many places, and the phrase, "there will be earthquakes in various places," suggests those shocks don't always have to be right under our feet. Canada is no stranger to weak whirlwinds that form from local conditions, but this one showed up when all the weather readings were steady, not matching the usual patterns. Luke 21:25 talks about signs that leave nations puzzled by roaring and violent movements, and the line, "nations will be in anguish," seems to mirror exactly how those people felt right then. Afterward, opinions split in different directions. Some saw it as a rare but natural event. Others thought it was just a quick cold vortex passing through. On the other hand, plenty of voices expressed unease, a feeling that nature was showing something beyond our usual understanding. Joel 2:30 speaks of wonders in the heavens and on the earth, and that Bible verse is often taken more as a hint than a strict conclusion. Scientists offered technical terms to explain it, but they also admitted some details didn't fully line up with standard data. The way it formed so fast, moved so strangely, and disappeared suddenly left many questions hanging. When old patterns no longer explain everything, that uneasy feeling starts to spread. A whirlwind showing up under a clear sky isn't just some odd weather event. It's more like a warning bell that the familiar order is being tested, and creation itself can become a powerful wake-up call. And once the air starts to take on the feel of a hunt, those unusual movements from farther up in the sky probably aren't far off either. 4. A strange white orb and a mysterious glowing sphere shot across the sky in Valle de Bravo, Mexico. A grayish-white shape hung in the hazy sky, its edges blurry, like light was bending around it. The form was huge yet twisted, not like any plane, not like any cloud. Suddenly, everything around felt strangely quiet. The first feeling wasn't fear, just an odd, empty space inside. It happened on the forest trails in Valle de Bravo, a place used to morning mist and thick tree canopies. A heavy sound came from far off, nothing like a normal engine. So, when the camera started rolling, the thing was already hovering high up. It stayed still for a few quick breaths, then moved in a way no one was ready for. It made an almost square turn, sharp and chilling, then sped off behind the cliff. Right in the center of the main shape was a dark hollow spot, and from there, a bright white ball shot out, gone from the frame in a flash. Do we call that moment a physics thing, or a signal being sent down? Luke 21:11 says there will be terrible things and great signs from heaven. The verse doesn't give details about shape or how it works. It just stresses the overwhelming feeling and unease when people face something way beyond what we normally understand. After the video spread, opinions split in different directions. Some said it's just a big remote-controlled flying device, or maybe a visual trick from the angle and light. Others pushed back, saying no known public technology can make that instant sharp turn, let alone launch a smaller object at a speed the eye can barely follow. Matthew 24:29-30 says, "The stars will fall from the sky, and then the sign of the Son of Man will appear in heaven." For many, this isn't a technical explanation. It's a hint about things in the sky that mean far more than just one odd event. The online debate kept growing, from cool-headed doubt to careful curiosity to quiet worry. Some see it as proof of intelligence beyond Earth. Others see a reminder of how limited human understanding really is. No single view took over completely, and that very hesitation is what keeps the story alive. As more strange images show up in the sky, maybe the important thing isn't rushing to decide what they are. They make us look up and wonder about our place in something much bigger. And once that strange light flashes overhead, the next question isn't, "What is it?" anymore. It's, "Are we ready for whatever's coming?" 5. A mysterious green beam shooting straight up into the sky. A column of green light rose straight up from the ground in the dark night, perfectly vertical and sharp like a cut across the sky. No sparks, no explosion, just this cold light shooting upward and then stopping in midair. Have you ever thought light could appear without leaving any physical trace at all? Just a few seconds later, that green column spread out into a bright orange ring, so perfectly round it was hard to believe, hanging there like a sign drawn right on the sky. Everything around was dead quiet. The camera didn't shake. The background stayed the same. Then the ring slowly faded and vanished, leaving an empty space that gave viewers chills down their spine. Joel 2:30 once warned, "I will show wonders in the heavens and on the earth, blood, fire, and pillars of smoke." Quote, the pillar isn't described as chaos, but as something that appears with a clear shape, standing firm for a brief moment before it disappears. That makes a lot of people think of a message placed exactly where and when it was meant to be. The video spread fast, but what really shocked people wasn't the colors, it was the total silence. No sound, no shockwave, no aircraft warning. The green smoothly turned to orange, no scattering, no trailing streaks, as if someone was controlling every single shift. Luke 21:11 records that great signs from heaven. The word great doesn't just mean size, it also means the impact on people's minds. It makes folks stop, look up, and realize some things are happening beyond our usual control. When experts looked at the video again, lots of ideas came up. Some said it might be a high-power laser test. Others mentioned a rare atmospheric optical effect. But the analyses show normal lasers cause obvious scattering, and atmospheric events usually come with changes in the background light, none of which showed up in this recording. Revelation 8:12 says, "A third of the sun, a third of the moon, and a third of the stars were struck, so that a third of them went dark." In the Bible, light and darkness aren't just physical things, they're signs of a shift in order. When light shows up in ways that break the normal rules, it feels more like a warning than something fun to watch. No official confirmation, no clear explanation, just the image of what happened and questions left hanging. If a beam of light can appear, change, and vanish in complete silence, what happens when the sky doesn't send just one single signal? 6. A row of blue lights quietly drifted across the sky over Romania, then vanished without a trace. The night sky in western Romania opened up a scene that's hard to put a name to. A faint, cold blue glow slid through the low clouds, lined up in a straight, even row with perfect spacing, like something placed there on purpose, not random lights. For that moment, it felt like we were seeing something way outside the usual pattern of a European night sky. It happened near the city of Timișoara, where a bunch of people all saw the same thing at once, a strong line of glowing blue lights moving steadily sideways across the sky. They passed right overhead for about 20 to 30 seconds, staying in perfect formation, moving at the same speed, then all blinked out, almost together. What was left was this strange, empty feeling in your eyes, like the sky had just closed a short scene we didn't get time to figure out. Matthew 24-29 says, "The stars will fall from the sky, and the powers of the heavens will be shaken." People usually read that as symbolic language. But when lights show up and disappear in such an orderly, hard-to-explain way, a lot of folks start thinking about changes that go beyond just physical stuff. Videos spreading online show the row of lights holding that tight formation the whole time they moved. Some witnesses said the lights didn't flicker, didn't leave any trails, and didn't noticeably change height. Those details turned the whole thing into a hot topic in online groups, from astronomy forums to ones talking about unidentified phenomena. Luke 21:25 records, "There will be signs in the sun, moon, and stars. On the earth, nations will be in anguish and perplexity." That Bible verse gets brought up a lot when people face things that shake their sense of control, especially when what we know right now isn't enough to give a clear answer. Some folks think the lights could be tied to remote-controlled drones or secret military tests. Others lean toward a rare astronomy thing, like high-altitude light reflections. Then there are people who see it through a spiritual lens, taking it as a kind of warning sign. The discussions keep going side by side, each view based on different data, experiences, and beliefs. Revelation 6:13 describes, "The stars in the sky fell to the earth like green figs, shaken loose by a strong wind." That picture gives a sense of orderly movement, but way beyond normal expectations. It's oddly similar to how those blue lights appeared and then slipped out of sight. Whether you explain it with science or faith, that chain of lights left a strong mark in the minds of those who saw it. When the sky starts acting in ways we can't easily explain, the question isn't just where it came from, it's what it might mean. And just as things quieted down in Romania, reports from Arizona started mentioning other hovering shapes, almost like the sky is continuing a message that isn't finished yet. 7. A glowing living cloud floating above Piestewa Peak, Arizona. The sky over Piestewa Peak opened up a sight that shakes up everything we usually think we know. A cloud hung low, shining with a silvery blue glow, its shape twisting and turning like it was adjusting itself. That strange feeling spread fast, because whatever was up there seemed to have a mind of its own, not like the rest of the Arizona desert sky. It was caught on video when a runner paused on the trail. The cloud drifted slowly, its surface shifting with every gentle pulse, giving off a soft but steady light. Watching it, you could tell the movement felt alive, more like a living thing than just some normal weather pattern. Joel 2:30 says, "Wonders in the heavens and on the earth." That Bible verse used to be seen as poetic prophecy, but when a glowing cloud shows up looking this unusual, a lot of folks start reading those words in a more direct, less symbolic way. The close-up video shows the cloud's surface reflecting light like liquid metal, patterns changing constantly, spirals opening and closing in short cycles. It stayed steady right above the mountainside, almost like it was watching the area around it. It hung there long enough for people to record it and share, then faded away, leaving plenty of questions hanging in the air. Luke 21:11 records, "Great terrors and wonderful signs from heaven." Here, terrors means that stunned feeling in your mind when you face something that doesn't fit any normal explanation. That cloud created exactly that quiet but powerful reaction. Weather experts who looked at it suggested low-altitude plasma, a rare lenticular cloud, or some light effect combined with moisture. The science side sticks to physics, energy, and the special desert conditions. On the other hand, many who saw it say the rhythmic motion and self-generated light point to something more symbolic than purely natural. Revelation 19:11 describes, "I saw heaven opened, and behold, a white horse." That picture is often taken as the start of big events, with the sky becoming a stage for spiritual signs. So, this glowing cloud over Piestewa Peak fits right into that line of thought as a kind of invitation to think deeper. Between science and faith, two views run side by side, each built on its own foundation. One looks for physical explanations, the other for spiritual meaning. That cloud sits right on the line between the two worlds, making anyone who sees it question the limits of what they think they understand. When a cloud starts looking alive and the sky seems to be opening up, there are probably deeper layers of events still waiting to show themselves. And in another spot across the desert, patterns of lights are starting to appear in an orderly way that has people watching the night sky more closely. 8. A vertical row of mysterious lights with a beam piercing the sky. The Arizona sky showed something hard to describe. A tall column of light standing straight up in the dark night, surrounded by layers of bright points that shifted positions in a strange, orderly way. The sight made a lot of people stop and stare for a long time because an uneasy feeling hit right from the first second. We all knew this wasn't the usual kind of light we'd seen on quiet desert nights. The videos that were recorded show the lights shining brightly, lined up vertically like some kind of intentional structure. A white beam shot straight up high, staying fixed in place, while smaller bright points spun around it, splitting apart, then coming back together in patterns that kept changing. The whole thing lasted long enough for different camera angles to appear, which started a big wave of sharing online. Matthew 24:24 warns, "For false Christs and false prophets will appear and perform great signs and wonders." In this case, many people see that Bible verse as a kind of warning, not aimed at this one event specifically, but at the true nature of these signs that shake people up and leave them confused. When technical breakdowns came out, some graphics experts said the video has signs of CGI, from the perfectly synced movements to the overly flawless lighting. That argument spread fast and sparked a strong pushback from online communities. Many folks said the real fear you feel when seeing it in person can't just be dismissed with a few tech details. Matthew 24:24 goes on to stress, to deceive, so as to deceive, if possible, even the elect. Here, the main point isn't whether it's real or fake, but the mental and emotional impact those images create. The Bible's warning points straight at how easily people can be led astray by things that hit the eyes and stir up feelings. On the forums, two main views run side by side. One side sees it as clever special effects, showing how easily images can be manipulated in the digital age. The other side views the event as part of a continuing series of signs in the sky, believing the lights forming patterns means something deeper than just entertainment or a hoax. That image kept a lot of people awake at night, led to heated arguments, and made them question the reality they're living in. It's exactly where technology, faith, and fear meet, and the line between real and fake gets really thin. So Matthew 24:24 rings out like an accusation for our time, when people can get swept up in strange signs and forget the clear-headedness they need. Even if the video gets labeled CGI, the psychological effect it produces is still there, and that's the part really worth thinking about. When lights in the sky can line up in perfect formation, another quiet question comes up. How many more signs will show up to test people's ability to tell what's what? And on the horizon, a different kind of movement is starting to catch the eye of those who keep watching patiently. 9. A glowing green orb, with something moving inside it, just hovering, then fading away. That night, the night sky showed a steady green light hanging there, maybe a couple 100 feet up. The light was round, even, and stayed perfectly still. When the camera zoomed in, you could see blurry shapes inside the glow, moving in their own rhythm, like some kind of self-running system. That moment made people pause longer than usual. What do you think could make a light just hang there quietly, then disappear right in front of so many eyes? The green glow held steady for a few seconds. Then the brightness slowly dropped until it faded out completely. Inside, the shapes changed direction, stretched and shrank, and finally blended into the dark sky. The whole thing happened quick and clean. No sound, no shake, no leftover trace. The sky went back to being empty, just like before. People came up with technical explanations, spotlights, reflections, some test drone or aircraft. Still, the way it moved on the inside and the exact sequence of fading raised a lot of questions. How it kept its shape so solid, then pulled back in its own orderly way that makes pure mechanical ideas harder to swallow. A feeling of being watched popped up in a lot of comments, spreading like a shared instinct. Luke 21:11 says, "Great signs in the sky," short, straight words that set the stage for things way outside normal watching. That green light showing up and then leaving quietly brings that same idea back. Sometimes the sky carries a message, showing itself in ways that go beyond everyday understanding. From another angle, the green light reminds people of the signs talked about in prophecy, images that appear more to wake folks up than to show off power. Matthew 24:29 says, "The stars will fall from the sky." That Bible verse focuses on things that used to stay fixed, suddenly moving and changing meaning. Revelation 12:1 records, "A great sign appeared in heaven." The phrase "great sign" stresses it's something meant to point the way, opening a deeper way to read these light events. The green orb, with its moving structure inside, feels like a shell hiding something, making the viewer stop and really think. Light is usually there to shine on things, to guide. When light carries its own inner movement, it hints at some kind of purposeful presence. It's a quiet reminder that reality has layers, and some layers only show up at certain moments, that makes the sky feel like a page being turned. And then, when the green fades into the night, the question still hangs there. If the light can watch us, is the sky getting ready for another shift, where the meaning becomes clearer the next time something appears? 10. The sky over Indonesia turned a deep, strange purple. At sunset in some parts of Indonesia, the sky shifted to a rich purple, covering the whole horizon like a curtain slowly closing. The purple spread evenly and stayed steady, giving the feeling that the sky had its own rhythm. Lots of videos captured the moment, showing the light changing phases clearly and lasting long enough for people to step outside and watch. What would you think if the entire sky changed color right in front of you, like a signal we're meant to understand? This happened after a big storm, with thick water vapor and dust hanging in the atmosphere. Sunlight passing through that layer created the deep purple, and the sun's surface looked like it had a gentle shimmer. The color felt almost alive because it pulsed slowly, never harsh or blotchy, but steady and orderly. People who saw it said the sky seemed like a living thing, revealing its mood. Scientists explain it using rare Rayleigh scattering conditions. That makes sense physically, but the way the color blanketed everything and held its shape took the experience beyond just watching normal weather. Plus, similar things happening in other parts of the world at the same time shift the question: what does it mean when the sky changes color like a shared message? Joel 2:31 says, "The sun will turn dark, and the moon will turn to blood, before the great and terrible day of the Lord comes." That verse sets the stage for changes in the sun, moon, and stars as warning signs. A purple sky covering everything feels like a shift in phase, where the normal order gives way to something more serious. Revelation 6:12 records, "The sun became black like sackcloth, and the moon became red like blood." The picture is one of judgment. It doesn't just describe, it points to what comes next. When the sky changes color over a wide area, the message isn't personal anymore. It speaks to everyone, forcing those who see it to face what the moment really means. Luke 21:25 says, "There will be signs in the sun, moon, and stars." That verse makes the sky a kind of signpost. This deep purple showed up after a storm, spread far, and stayed steady, fitting the idea of a public, intentional sign. When the sky changes color, like it has life of its own, it's a final call to wake up and choose. These signs aren't just to make us curious, they set a deadline. If the sky is already speaking through color, all that's left is how we answer before things move into the final stage. What I've shared here doesn't stand alone, and it's not just scattered thoughts or passing feelings. When these things start showing up often, stretching from the sky right down to how people think and feel, a clear red thread begins to appear. Each sign is like a quiet knock, not loud, but strong enough to wake up an inner part of us that's gotten used to treating all the unease as normal. Matthew 16:3 says, "You know how to read the look of the sky, but you can't read the signs of the times." The point here is about understanding what you see, not just seeing it. When the sky changes, when the light takes strange shapes, the real issue isn't the thing itself, it's how our hearts respond to those signs. These unusual signs don't appear just to scare us. They come in order, at the right moment, in the right setting, and they repeat patterns that were warned about long ago. Luke 12:54-56 says, "When you see clouds coming up from the west, you say right away that rain is coming. Why don't you know how to read this present time?" It's a gentle challenge to our indifference, not to our lack of knowledge. What's worth thinking about is that every sign opens a choice. Some call it coincidence, some see it as just a natural event, but others quietly wonder where they fit in the bigger picture. Amos 3-7 declares, "The Lord God does nothing without first revealing his plan to his servants the prophets." As what's being shown gets clearer and clearer, our silence starts to feel heavier. This moment isn't calling for fear, it's calling for being awake. No one is forced to believe, but everyone is invited to consider it. Hebrews 3:15 reminds us, "Today, if you hear his voice, don't harden your heart." That call isn't coming from people. It's ringing through the changes happening right in front of us. If what I've said touches your thoughts at all, feel free to leave a sincere prayer or a quiet reflection in the comments below. That small sharing can be the first step toward real change inside. Also, if you hit the like button, share this, or subscribe to the channel, it helps the message keep reaching others so no reminder gets missed on the road ahead. Revelation 22:20 says, "Yes, I am coming soon." Those closing words aren't meant to end things. They open up a state of watchful waiting. Thank you to everyone who's listened all the way through. I'm sending a prayer that you and your family stay covered in peace and guidance. Amen.
Well, my next guest was a former agnostic engineer who became a Christian pastor. He has spent more than 30
This was God.
What I saw as a sound was just light.
What is it that's making the whole world suddenly feel so uneasy? And why does everyone keep talking about 2026 like it's some kind of point of no return? In just a short time, the sky has changed shape, the ground has reacted violently, and people who were right at death's door have come back with shocking stories. The signs keep coming one after another, clear as day, with no warning, forcing everyone to stop and ask, where is all this leading? 10 phenomena hit one right after the other. Strange lights bursting out, giant human figures appearing in the sky, the moon doubling, tornadoes changing direction, pillars of light standing straight up, storms destroying everything, the sea turning blood red, lightning striking straight down, distorted halos, and fire falling from the sky. Do you think this is all just random coincidence, or is it a warning? If you're feeling unsettled inside, leave a prayer in the comments below. It might be the first step. Now, come along with me as we dig deeper and pull back the curtains on truths you won't be able to forget. We'll start right with 1. People who died and came back saw Jesus with nail marks on his wrists. You know, some folks who had near-death experiences, clinically dead for a bit, came back and said they met Jesus and clearly saw the nail marks on his wrists. They described the moment their heart stopped, their consciousness left their body, and then they faced a specific figure with a form and marks you couldn't mistake. What really shakes people is that these stories come from all over the world, different ages, but they match on one key detail. Jesus has those nail marks. According to Fox News, Pastor John Burke, a former engineer who used to be a skeptic, now the founding pastor of Gateway Church in Austin, Texas, has interviewed over 1,000 near-death cases from different continents. These accounts cross cultures and religions, with some striking matching details that make researchers take them seriously. One case was a Muslim imam named Swedik in Rwanda who had end-stage leukemia. His heart stopped during treatment. They confirmed he was gone, but he later told how he met a man with a beard, wearing a shining robe and clear nail holes in his wrists. The words he heard were simple. He died for all people and asked Swedik to tell others. Swedik came back to life right during his own funeral, left Islam, and later served in Christianity. He faced death threats many times but never backed down. Revelation 21:1-2 says, "I saw a new heaven and a new earth. I also saw the holy city, the new Jerusalem, coming down out of heaven, prepared like a bride." Then, Revelation 21:23 describes the city not needing the sun or moon because God's glory lights it up. That picture matches amazingly with what some of these people describe, even ones who'd never read the Bible. Another case came from India. Santosh, a production engineer who followed Hinduism, went into code blue and stayed on a breathing machine for 3 days. He said he was taken to a bright city with streets like pure gold and materials that sparkled in ways nothing on earth has. Santosh said he'd never touched the Bible before, but his description lined up with those old passages. Acts 1-8 talks about being witnesses to the ends of the earth, which puts these stories that cross religious lines into a bigger picture. Here, the Bible doesn't come across as something forced on people. It acts more like a key that unlocks what they've already seen. Scientists often say right away it's just lack of oxygen to the brain, cultural hallucinations, or memories pieced together. But doctors like Pim van Lommel and Sam Parnia have noted cases of veridical perception where patients accurately describe events that happened while their EEG was flat. Putting both views side by side leaves a tough question you can't easily brush off. Where does human consciousness really end? These accounts don't claim to be the final answer, but they do make us think seriously about life after death and what faith means. If the heart has stopped and people still see clear light, then what does that moment of facing glory ask from each of us? 2. A huge Jesus figure appears towering right in front of crowds. In broad daylight, right up in the sky, over a busy city, a massive blob of light suddenly shows up. Not lightning, not storm clouds. It's a clear human shape, standing straight, taller than the buildings, sticking out against the bright sky. Traffic down below jams up right away as hundreds of folks stop to film it and call their families. The light doesn't burst out but forms slowly, each line coming clear like it's drawn with light. The figure has a familiar look, head a bit bowed, body standing still, hands clasped behind the back. No movement, no sound. The whole image hangs in the air for several minutes before fading away and vanishing completely. What makes this event so debated isn't just the shape, but how sharp it is and when it happens. Pareidolia, that thing where your brain spots faces or figures in clouds and light, has been noted by science. But most cases last just seconds. The shape isn't steady, and it depends a lot on your angle. Here, the image gets captured from lots of different spots in daytime light and holds its form long enough for a bunch of devices to record it all at once. Matthew 24-30 warns, "Then the sign of the Son of Man will appear in the sky. All the tribes of the earth will mourn, and they will see the Son of Man coming on the clouds of heaven with power and great glory." This Bible verse doesn't describe something vague, but stresses the sign showing up in the sky and being seen openly. After the videos spread, reactions explode, mostly from online folks. Some say it's a holy sign, a final reminder for humanity, calling for prayer and repentance. Others think it's just a light effect or something edited digitally. But with dozens of independent recordings, not matching frames, not the same devices, the setup theory raises a lot of doubts. What do you think this event really is? Revelation 1-7 says, "Look, he is coming with the clouds, and every eye will see him, even those who pierced him. All the tribes of the earth will mourn because of him." These words aren't meant to explain the event, but act as a warning. When that appearance happens, it won't leave humanity on the sidelines. Acts 1-9-11 records that Jesus was taken up into heaven in a cloud, and he will come back the same way. If a familiar-looking image shows up right in the middle of a modern city hub, amid cameras, satellites, and global social media, then the question isn't, is it real or not? The question is this a forewarning or just the opening act? 3. 4 mysterious moons appeared in the sky over Russia. As night fell in St. Petersburg, the sky suddenly showed 4 bright round discs around the real moon. They stood still and sharp, so clear that plenty of folks thought their eyes were playing tricks, like seeing double. Videos spread fast in just minutes. and you could feel how strange it was to look up and see the sky not looking like it usually does. The air was bitterly cold, temperature well below zero, with thin high clouds like wisps covering everything. The moonlight passed through those cirrus clouds full of tiny hexagonal ice crystals, bending the light in a rare, symmetric way. That created copies of the moon sitting in fixed spots, bright, cold, and sharp-edged, like mirrors hanging in the sky. People gathered in the squares, pointing cameras and phones upward, while those bright discs didn't flicker or move. They stayed perfect, long enough to make time feel stretched out. For a moment, everything seemed frozen. Frosty rooftops, breath turning to steam, and 4 glowing rings around the dark center of the night. Joel 2:30-31 once said something like, "I will show wonders in the heavens and on the earth, blood, fire, and columns of smoke. The sun will turn dark, the moon will turn to blood, before the great and terrible day of the Lord comes." Those words aren't about the science details. They put us face to face with the idea that the sky can sometimes carry a message. When the videos went viral, folks online quickly split into different views. Some said it's a rare weather event we can explain, light bending 22 degrees through ice crystals called moondogs. Others pointed to the timing, feeling these sky signs are showing up more often lately and shouldn't just be brushed off as random. Luke 21:25 says, "There will be signs in the sun, moon, and stars. On the earth, nations will be anxious and confused because of the roaring sea and waves." That doesn't reject the science explanation, but it adds another layer. When strange sights keep happening, people start wondering where they stand in all these changes. Weather experts stay careful. They call it paraselene, just the result of special cold conditions, nothing outside normal physics. Still, how unusually clear and widespread the videos were kept, the talk going beyond one simple label. If the sky can put 4 moons up on a freezing night, then when signs like this keep appearing in more places, how long can the line between just a weather thing and something to pay attention to really hold? 4. Waterspout acts like it has a mind of its own, moving around hunting for prey in the Bermuda Triangle area. Out in the thick, foggy ocean, a huge column of water suddenly shoots straight up from the sea, right in the Bermuda Triangle. What makes the video so shocking isn't the size, it's how the waterspout keeps changing direction, going forward then back, making sharp turns like it's picking out a target. In that moment, the people on the ship's deck don't feel like they're just watching the weather anymore. They feel like they're the ones being watched. Bermuda has long been known for weather that changes fast, where warm and cold ocean currents crash into each other and create wild, turbulent spots. Deep under the sea, pockets of methane gas can burst up suddenly, making the surface bubble and lose stability. But in this footage, the waterspout doesn't follow one steady wind path. It zigzags, spins around, gets close to the ship's side, then suddenly veers off. From the deck of a container ship, the crew recorded this waterspout towering hundreds of feet, spinning hard, with its base sweeping the sea and leaving a long white trail. The wind howls unevenly, shifting direction in just seconds, so trying to predict it becomes pointless. Up close, the way it moves gives the feeling it's scanning the space around it, and you can see why a lot of folks on board just stopped talking and stared at it. Matthew 24:7 warned, "Nation will rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom. There will be famines and earthquakes in various places." The Bible verse isn't describing one single event. It points to nature falling into disorder all at once when the usual rules don't run smoothly like they used to. After the video spread, weather experts quickly offered explanations. Some say it's a fair weather waterspout, formed in weak convection conditions, but able to wander unpredictably. Others lean toward a tornadic waterspout, influenced by strong, low-level wind shear that makes it change direction fast. These analyses come from wind and temperature data, and they don't bring in any supernatural factors. Still, what keeps the discussion going isn't how the waterspout formed, it's how it moved while people were watching. Even simulation models have a hard time exactly copying the sequence caught from the ship's deck. When science gives a solid explanation but leaves some gaps, that uneasy feeling the witnesses had doesn't just go away. If a waterspout can change course out in the open ocean and come right up close to a steel ship weighing tens of thousands of tons, the question left hanging isn't only about weather. In a world where nature is getting harder and harder to predict, is this just a rare fluke or a sign that bigger storms are quietly building up beyond what we can see? 5. Colorful light pillars floating over the night sky in New Hampshire. A tall column of colorful lights suddenly stood straight up in the night sky over Lebanon, New Hampshire, shooting high like an arrow pointing straight into the air. A driver named Kim caught it on video. The lights appeared clearly, stayed steady for several minutes, and made cars slow down and stop completely. No explosion, no warning, just the sky changing right in front of everyone's eyes. That night, the temperature dropped below 0 degrees Fahrenheit, with dry, deep cold in the air. In weather like that, tiny ice crystals called diamond dust can float close to the ground and reflect lights from street lamps and cars. But what surprised so many people was how many pillars there were, and all those colors: green, yellow, red, stacked in bands, stretching hundreds of feet straight up, sharp and clear. In the video, the light pillars didn't flicker or spread out. They just stood still like fixed columns. The shots from inside the car show no signs of editing, no cuts, no boosted colors. Other drivers posted pictures from different angles, and they all matched up on the location and shape. Do you think this was just a coincidence, or did it not happen by chance at all? Luke 21:25 talks about signs in the sky. There will be strange signs in the sun, moon, and stars. On the earth, nations will be worried and confused because the sea roars and the waves roll. The Bible verse doesn't say where the light comes from, but it stresses these unusual signs that make people stop and think. Right after it spread, this event sparked big debates on social media. Some folks say it's just light pillars, a well-explained optical effect from atmospheric physics. Others question the timing and strength. Why did such clear, multicolored pillars show up all at once in a small town, right when so many other unusual things are happening? Luke 21:25 gets brought up in those discussions more as a suggestion than a final answer. For some people, the Bible isn't there to deny science. It's there to ask about the meaning behind what we see. Science explains how it works. Faith looks for the purpose. Meteorologists explain that light from sodium lamps and LEDs can create color bands when reflected through ice crystals, and that fits the weather conditions that night perfectly. The explanation makes sense and holds up. Still, it doesn't take away the feeling that the sky was decorated in a way that made people pay attention. If it's only a natural event, then it's a rare and beautiful sight. But if those light pillars appeared to get people to look up from their busy lives, the question remains open. Next time the sky changes, will you just drive on by, or will you stop and think about it? 6. The terrifying storm in Mojokerto, East Java, Indonesia. Rain poured down like it was dumped straight from the sky. The wind kept slamming hard, ripping off metal roofs and snapping big trees in just a few minutes. The grounds of the Nurus Jabon Islamic boarding school turned into total chaos as water rose fast and the walkways became muddy, rushing streams. Amid the howling wind and crashing metal, you could really feel the scary power of a storm that came without warning. East Java is used to monsoon winds, but that night the strength went way beyond normal. Reports say the rain that fell in a short time was much higher than the long-term average, along with repeated strong gusts. On-the-ground videos showed the schoolyard deeply flooded, signs torn up by the roots, power lines shaking violently, forcing students and teachers to run for safe shelter. Phone footage captured the most chaotic moments, people pulling each other along, covering heads for one another, moving in groups to dodge flying debris. The wind's roar drowned out their calls to each other, but order didn't break down. You could see natural teamwork, opening sturdy room doors, getting the weaker ones inside first, sharing raincoats and flashlights, even as the weather pushed everyone to the limit. Matthew 24:7 gets mentioned as a warning about increasing disasters. Nation will rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom. There will be famines and earthquakes in various places. The Bible focuses on spreading instability when natural patterns no longer hold their usual rhythm. Weather reports say the area was hit by stronger, moist wind flows, combined with high ground temperatures that boosted convection. Some experts believe recent El Niño phases and global climate change have increased heavy rain in parts of Southeast Asia by about 20–30% over historical averages. The data explains the how, but it doesn't lessen the danger when a storm hits a crowded residential area. Revelation 11:13 also comes up and talks about disasters as a wake-up sign. In that earthquake, many people were terrified and gave glory to the God of heaven. This quote isn't meant to deny science. It highlights how people react to big events with fear, awakening, and a search for meaning beyond the numbers. What's worth noting is that after the storm, there were no major injuries or deaths reported. The school quickly organized internal relief, made temporary repairs, and got daily life stable again. The community's closeness really stood out in the hardship, showing that discipline and helping one another can cut down damage when nature turns harsh. If climate models say these kinds of heavy rains will keep coming back even stronger, the question isn't just how to prepare the infrastructure. When nature keeps testing us over and over, do we just see it as weather data or as a warning we need to really listen to and change how we live before the next storms hit? 7. The beach turns blood red on Hormuz Island, Iran. Under what seems like a harmless rain, the sea suddenly changes color. It's not the sunset glow, and it's not an illusion. Red water pours out from the land, spreading fast like a fresh-cut wound. In just a few minutes, the familiar shoreline turns into a sight that makes your heart sink, as if the ocean itself is bleeding right in front of you. On Hormuz Island in the Persian Gulf, the beach is already famous for its unusual beauty, but after every rain, it puts on this deep red color. People call the place Rainbow Island because the land is packed with hematite and oxidized iron minerals. When rain falls, the red soil gets washed into streams, flows across the sand, and pours straight into the blue sea, creating a contrast so strong it takes your breath away. Those red streams aren't loud or explosive. They quietly spread, staining the sand, and waves of vivid crimson like fresh blood. Tourists stand frozen, captivated by the strange beauty, yet feeling a chill that's hard to name. In that moment, how fragile life really is becomes so clear, like a reminder that one rain shower can completely turn the normal order upside down. Joel 2:30 once wrote, "I will show wonders in the heavens and on the earth, blood, fire, and columns of smoke." Facing that red beach, those ancient words suddenly echo from far away. No need for the sky to split open or fire from above. Just this scene on the ground is enough to make people think of a warning that time has never faded. Of course, science gives a clear explanation. Hematite, or iron oxide, is what makes the soil that deep red, and the rain simply reveals the island's natural geology. Geologists say it's completely natural, nothing more, nothing less. But sometimes reason isn't enough to quiet the uneasy feeling when you see the sea turn the color of blood with your own eyes. Revelation 6-8 talks about death and fear covering the earth. "And I looked, and behold, a pale horse, and his name that sat on him was Death." Even though it doesn't mention the sea or rain directly, that image still makes the Hormuz scene feel heavier. That red isn't just on the sand, it presses on your mind. making you wonder what part of human history we're living in right now. Maybe it's just soil, rain, and a chemical reaction with no feelings attached. But maybe that color is a sign drawn so clearly you can't ignore it. If one beach can turn into a river of blood after a single rain, what happens when other boundaries get washed away too? And if you stood there looking at it, would you dare take one more step to see clearly what's waiting ahead? 8. Lightning strikes getting straighter, like pillars of light. Could this be punishment for humanity? A flash rips across the sky and drops straight down to the ground like a column of judgment. No zigzags, no warning, just one cold, vertical line from high clouds slamming down on people. Have you ever looked up and wondered why lightning these days seems to be aiming instead of just happening by chance? In recent years, more and more folks have seen bolts strike straight from the clouds to the earth, standing upright like pillars of light. In a lot of cases, the sky was almost calm before. No heavy rain, no strong gusts. But then the lightning appears out of nowhere, blazing bright and fierce. That moment makes anyone standing underneath feel tiny and terrified, as if something up above just zeroed in on exactly the right spot. In weather science, this gets called things like bolt from the blue or cloud-to-ground strikes that are almost perfectly vertical. There are also sprites and blue jets, columns of light shooting upward from the top of clouds into the upper atmosphere, looking like towers of light connecting earth to sky. Even though they come from different physical conditions, that straight up and down shape still gives people an uneasy feeling that's hard to explain. Matthew 24-27 warned, "For as the lightning comes from the east and flashes to the west, so will the coming of the Son of Man be." That Bible verse isn't talking about storms or barometric pressure. It's about the suddenness and how far the light spreads. When lightning stops snaking around and plunges straight down like a spear of light, a lot of people can't help but think of that warning. What makes the fear grow isn't just the shape, it's how often it happens now. Videos, reports, and stories from different places show this kind of lightning showing up more and more, sometimes even without a big thunderstorm around. The loud boom, the ground shaking a little, the white-blue flash cutting across your view, it all feels like a sentence just got read out from the sky. Psalm 97:4 once described it. "His lightning lights up the world. The earth sees and trembles." That trembling isn't only a natural reflex to loud noise and bright light. It's a deep, instinctive fear when people face a power way beyond their control, something you can't talk your way out of or reason away. Of course, science calls it atmospheric electrical discharge, caused by charge differences between clouds and the ground. Every detail can be measured, modeled, and explained. But science doesn't answer why those bolts look so much like pillars of judgment, or why the feelings they stir up feel heavier than ever before. Nahum 1-3 says, "The Lord is slow to anger and great in power. He will not leave the guilty unpunished." When lightning strikes straight down, like a sword from heaven, those words echo like a chilly reminder. If this isn't just random weather, but a sign, then the question left is, have you really felt the weight of that gaze from above yet? Or is something even more mysterious still waiting ahead? 9. The dog's-eye phenomenon is showing up more and more often these days. All of a sudden, the sky opens up with a strange shape. It's not blinding or scary, just quietly hanging there high above, like a mark placed exactly where it belongs. The light isn't just one single spot anymore. It splits into 3 points, connected by a perfect circle that makes you stop and stare for a long time. Have you ever had a moment where the sun looked completely different from any normal day, almost like it was carrying a special meaning just for the person looking at it? This is called sundogs. 2 bright patches appear on either side of the real sun, making a shape like a horizontal shuttle across the sky. The 3 bright spots aren't scattered. They're joined by a ring of refracted light at about 22 degrees. It's so clear, it looks like someone just drew a glowing circle right on the blue sky. The colors fade gently, from soft red near the center to yellow, then pale blue at the edges. Nothing messy about it. Everything feels perfectly balanced and strange in a beautiful way. From a science view, hexagonal ice crystals floating high up in the atmosphere bend the sunlight at a fixed angle. You usually see this in cold places or high plains where the air is thin and clean. But what really gets people thinking isn't the how, it's the familiar picture that's almost hard to believe. That ring of light looks exactly like the halo we always see painted behind the head of the Virgin Mary in Catholic art. Round, gentle, and surrounding. Joel 2:31 talks about a sign in the sky. The sun will be turned to darkness and the moon to blood before the great and terrible day of the Lord comes. The verse doesn't describe the exact shape, but it stresses a change in the most familiar light we know. When the sun doesn't show up the usual way, a lot of folks see it as a quiet reminder. Nothing loud, but strong enough to wake up your attention. What's really striking is the feeling this brings. It's not fear, it's a deep, calm peace inside. People standing under that sky often talk about feeling protected, like looking at a holy symbol they knew from when they were little. The light doesn't stab down or tear the sky apart. It wraps around, holds everything, and creates a moment that just makes your heart slow down. Revelation 12:1 describes something different. A great sign appeared in heaven. A woman clothed with the sun, with the moon under her feet and a crown of 12 stars on her head. It doesn't match perfectly, but the connection still makes many people think about light as a message of love, not judgment. Science calls this atmospheric optics, a thing we can predict. But science can't explain why that image touches the deep faith memories of so many people all at once. When the halo hangs there quietly in the sky, the real question isn't about how it works. It's about choice. Will you just look and walk on, or will you take it as a gentle invitation to turn back before the final sign comes? 10. Mysterious sparks falling from the sky in Oklahoma. The sky over Oklahoma suddenly opened up. No thunder, no storm, just these silent, glowing lights dropping down in a really eerie quiet. From the porch of a house right by the woods, the camera caught a scene that makes you hold your breath. The fire didn't flare up or whip through the air. It just gently came down to the ground, like someone had let it go on purpose. What would you think if fire fell from heaven with no warning at all? Those little lights weren't just a few strays. There were hundreds of glowing sparks spread out across the sky, drifting slowly before touching the earth. When they hit the ground, they made a dry, crackling sound, small but clear. No thick smoke, no big flames, just fading trails of light left behind. The whole thing felt calm and cold, more like a ceremony than an accident, and it was hard to look away. The area on video is open, with sparse trees, no power lines overhead, no festivals, no fireworks, no sign of a wildfire. The clip spread fast, pulling in millions of views and tons of questions. Early reports say local officials had no record of any electrical problem, no drill announcements, and no tests going on in the area at that time. Revelation 8:5-7 comes to mind for a lot of folks watching this. Then the angel took the censer, filled it with fire from the altar, and hurled it to the earth. And there came peals of thunder, rumblings, flashes of lightning, and an earthquake. The Bible verse describes fire from heaven as a judgment act, not loud, but strong enough to shake people's hearts. When fire shows up with no clear source, it's tough not to make the connection. Some say it could be illegal fireworks, a rare electrical event, or even some special burning material reacting with the air. But reports found no launch spot, no usual debris, and nobody claiming it. The technical guesses came up and then just hung there, missing the biggest piece, where it came from. Revelation 20:12 points to another scene, a final one. The dead were standing before the throne, and books were opened. When silent fire falls from the sky, Many feel it's no longer a vague warning, it's a marker. The fire didn't burn the woods or houses, but it touched the deepest unease inside. 10 strange events in 2026, from near-death accounts to skies changing shape, seas turning blood red, to this quiet falling fire, aren't standing alone. They're lining up like puzzle pieces, forming one clear picture of signs in the heavens and on the earth, just as Matthew 24 and Revelation described. Revelation 22:12-13 closes with words you can't ignore. Behold, I am coming soon, bringing my reward with me, to repay each one according to what he has done. I am the Alpha and the Omega, the first and the last, the beginning and the end. When fire has fallen without any thunder, the question left isn't what the phenomenon was, it's how you'll get ready before that final door closes. Here are 10 signs that have come one after another, like 10 knocks on the door of our awareness. They haven't all been loud in the same way, but they all point to the same feeling. This world isn't running like it used to. From people coming back with stories after crossing the line of death, to skies changing shape, pillars of light, fire falling, oceans turning red, then storms, straight down lightning, and sunlight bending, all of it comes together as a connected chain of signs. They're not random. Each one adds to the others. When you put them side by side, the picture gets clearer. The Bible doesn't talk about just one single event, but a whole period of time. Matthew 24:3-8 records Jesus' warning about the birth pains of the world, when disasters, conflicts, and fear all rise together. Nation will rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom. There will be famines and earthquakes in various places. What we're seeing feels like a heartbeat that's getting faster and faster, signaling a shift that can't be turned back. The book of Revelation doesn't only describe destruction, it also talks about waking up. Revelation 3:2 says, "Wake up and strengthen what remains." These 10 signs don't force anyone to believe, but they do make you stop, think, and face your own spiritual life. In the middle of all this unease, the invitation isn't to panic, it's to turn back, pray, and put your full trust in the Lord. Even among those strong images, there's one gentle thread running through it all: mercy. Joel 2:13 says, "He is gracious and compassionate, slow to anger and abounding in love." If the signs are warnings, then the fact that things are still holding on is grace, giving each of us more time to think things over, change, and choose the path we walk. If what you've just seen touches your heart, take a quiet moment, leave a prayer here, or just an honest thought from your own experience. Every word you write isn't just letters, it's a response to the quiet call that's sounding in this time. And if these messages feel valuable to you, please share them so others don't miss out. Also, follow the channel to keep walking together as we look at more signs and warnings ahead. Every connection is a way to spread light in these confusing days. Thank you so much for listening all the way to the end. May the Lord give you and your family His peace, protect you in every situation, and guide your every step in the days ahead. Amen.
Ai, meu Deus!
Hundreds of birds literally falling from the sky into a
Where's the world heading when nature and the sky all seem to change their tune at once? A raging flood sweeps people away in Piracicaba. Huge flames shoot up right next to a gas station in Taichung. Gray mud boils up in Tabean. Moths blanket Manitoba. Birds drop from the sky by the hundreds in Mexico. Strange lights fill the sky thick over Miami. A snowy mountain glows like a doorway. Clouds form haunting shapes. 10 events scattered across different